Hey everyone, it's Kyle here at Azor Ahai, and I'm very, very happy to be joined by a special guest this evening. It's been way too long. We have young Jeezy. Did I say young Jeezy? I meant to say old Jeezy. I screwed up there. He's looking young because if you see the oranges behind him, he's actually in Dorne. I'm actually the old one in the lands of always winter right now. So Dorne and the North. But George is going to be joining us tonight. And yeah, George, what's up, man? Long time.
Just stuff and hang out.
But George has been joining us tonight, and yeah,
I'm
man, long time.
totally just enjoying being able to sit outside.
I think we got some audio issues there with you, George. Where you're reverberating in the background there, homie. Just pause the actual YouTube video. The special guest is George. We're going to get George back here in a second, everyone. But welcome. Tonight is going to be a super fun stream. It's going to be me and George. George is going to rejoin in just a second when he fixes up his audio issues. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a Q&A, and it's going to be a celebration stream. I got some really good news yesterday. We're going to talk about that and kind of just hang out. George, you're back? You're good?
I'm back.
Okay. Reverberation. I think we're good now. So George, what's up, man? We didn't get to hear exactly what you said, so just give us a what's up.
Hello.
So what have you been up to, man?
Finishing up a bunch of work. Just saw Black Panther last night. It was awesome. Gotta say, they really pulled out the stops on that one, and it was off the hook. Go see it. It's amazing.
I was gonna go see it tonight, but I've decided that after having a few day beers today, that I'm probably not in good condition to go see it tonight. Cheers, everyone. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. So tonight, me and George, we were just talking. We don't really have a plan. We don't really have a plan tonight for the discussion. So what we'll do is once everybody gets in here, we'll kind of let everyone decide on what they want. And I'm thinking we can do a Q&A. We can talk a little bit about the news from yesterday. We can talk about Game of Thrones Season 8. We can talk about all sorts of stuff. But what we'll do is we'll let everybody in the chat. All you got to do is let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll kind of go in that direction. We're really open tonight to whatever. Let's see who we got in the chat. We got Peter the Noble. We got Peter the Noble in the chat. I'm going to mod him. 1 second. We got Karen Richmond.
Characters.
Say that again, George?
The usual cast of characters.
Yeah, we got Christian. We got William Rice. Who else do we got up in here? We got a bunch. We got Gretty. Cammy's up in here. We got Robbie. We got Scott. Scott, what's up? Herb. We got Robbie. I think we got Amberlyn in here. We got Jennifer. Nicola. Davos Seaworth was here earlier, apparently. I asked him for some fermented crab, but he never gave me an answer if he had some for me. But yeah, we're just hanging out. What would everybody like to hear tonight? George, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk more Q&A? Season 8, what's up? We might have a difficult time tonight with me in Canada and George in California. The connection is a bit of an issue. That's all good. What's up, George?
I might be able to move. It looks like I have enough wireless signal out here. Like I have 3/4 of it.
Yeah,
so I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know, man. I could be the Night King warging our electronics per usual. We usually have some sort of electronic mishap. Oh geez, we got a donation train started already, man. You wanna read these out, George?
Let's jump into this. What are your thoughts on Littlefinger still being alive?
Geez, man. There's a video that popped up the other day about that, right? I think,
yeah, I saw it. They raised good points. But
it could possibly happen in the books, but I don't think it could happen in the show, man. I think he's dead.
I'll tell you what. If Littlefinger's alive, so is Ned. For the same reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, Littlefinger is dead. Everyone. I don't think they would have.
We're gonna have the final twist is going to be Ned, Rhaegar, and Littlefinger all riding up on horses together, right?
That would be absolutely terrible if Littlefinger, Ned, and Rhaegar are all alive. It would defeat the whole purpose of the story, right? Because, like, Rhaegar and Ned, yeah, they had these honorable things they did, but they left the world in the worst condition than when they were in it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
but the thing about Rhaegar is, we don't know what he knew yet. He definitely chose a path of action that was going to change his world and change everything that happened around him, and he had to make those choices. And what we're going to find is, did those choices that led to all of this, was it worth it? Right? Was it worth it for him to start the war? Was it worth it for him to do these other things, to get Jon Snow, to create him, literally? And is he going to save the world? Like, literally save the... Did Rhaegar's actions hurt the world more or save the world more? What do you think?
I think ultimately in the end, Jon is going to be the person that inspires change. I mean, a lot of people are going to die, but I think ultimately it will have been the right choice, because I think magic will be gone. That's my interpretation of it. But
so?
Yeah, I think magic will be gone. I think the only part of magic that will be left will be Bran, and he'll be in the weirwood net, like warging into a crow or something like that from a weirwood tree. I don't think there's going to be any magic left. I know some people think it will end in a pact. What are your thoughts on that, George? Do you think magic will still be around? Because I think it's kind of determined with that in mind.
I think that George R. R. Martin has created such a world with weird magic and weird religions. Not that they're weird, but more that are real. I mean, that's one of the discussions that's really... And we know that there is some form of magic in this world that really does work. Is it real magic, or is it psionic magic, like mental powers? And most of the stuff that we've seen could lead us to think that maybe most of it is really mental powers and not something else. But
well, that's our interpretation, right? It could just be nature, the way nature is in this world. I mean, we interpret things through science because we don't have a complete understanding of nature, right? So these phenomena that are happening could be possibly just
right.
extensions of human senses and whatnot, or nature.
Right. Time traveling and being able to affect what happens there, is that magic, or is that like being able to somehow physically reach out to the waves of that's what we don't... So like you say, is magic gonna... is it even there? That's... we kind of have to wonder about that first. And then
there's the argument, does time even exist? Because the way we try to categorize everything with the human brain, we do things chronologically, and we systemically organize things in a way that makes us feel more secure. I want to say more secure.
Right.
And that's another thing that's taught throughout the story. Like we don't know if everything's happening all at once. For all that we know, or for what's actually really happening in the universe, everything is only happening right now, but we categorize it as the past of the future, right? So we can have more better recordings of it, better ways of tabling everything,
so we can make sense of it, and that's kind of what in a way what we kind of... is Bran, we're having in all this. Is he really the Night King? Is he really, there's so many good questions that have been raised in the last 6 months that we know we're going to get the answers to most of them coming up here.
Do you think we get
a
all
year
of them?
from now.
Do you think we get all of them in season 8? Like, do you think everything will be answered, or some will be left ambiguous? We're gonna get to the shoutouts in just a second for the donations, everyone. By the way, go ahead, George.
Be answered in the books, and it might not even be the same answer. Well, there's so many plot splits,
George,
and character combinations.
I think we're gonna have to get you to go inside, man. You're lagging pretty bad. So
right,
while I'm just gonna get you to go inside, and then we'll I'll just do the shoutouts here for a second. Yeah, I'll just get you to mute yourself for just a second there, bud. Your audio video is lagging. So we got some donations in the chat, everyone. We got 2 from Jude, and Jude says, Jude Scaglione, he says, the GoFundMe wouldn't let me donate, so I'm sending this super chat. Thank you so much, Jude. Jude is actually a new patron on the channel, everyone. Really, really appreciate your support, Jude. If everybody could show Jude some love in the chat, obviously super, super thank you for that. For everyone that doesn't know, I started a GoFundMe for Con of Thrones just about 3 or 4 days ago. I'm going to need all the help I can get. Flights and hotel are super, super expensive for me to get from Canada to Dallas, Texas. And some of you know that I went to Con of Thrones last year, but this year it's an even bigger and better thing. Really, really excited for that. And basically every donation, anything that all of you do to help me get there is going towards me doing some amazing filming with Tripodric down there and all of that. So thank you so much, Jude. Really, really appreciate those donations. But if anybody does want to donate, they can do it through Super Chat, or they can do it in the description of this video. I do have the link there as well. We also have another Super Chat donation. We already got a crazy donation train going on. William Rice says, let me pop this up again. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. He says, congrats on your news, Kyle. And basically, since everyone's here, I got the news yesterday. A lot of you know that I've been dealing with a back injury for the past 3.5 years. And basically, yesterday, they told me I can rehab it without surgery. So really, really good news. I thought I was going to have to get surgery in 2 weeks from now, which would have been really, really inconvenient because of the momentum the channel's getting, and because I'm getting a new computer, I have to learn that and all that kind of stuff. But good news, I can start working out again. Not super crazy. I still have a herniated disc in my back. I'm still hurt, but the nerves in my leg have regenerated some, so they're not all completely healed. But they do believe, since I'm 31 years old, that I have a bright future ahead of me, that I will heal naturally, which is pretty crazy. Like, pretty small percentage of people that happens to. So I'm really, really lucky. And thank you so much for the donation, Will, and hype and love for Jude and William in the chat. Thank you so much for that. George, are we back, homie?
Yeah, I've got the sound. I just don't have my roommate's moved out, so I've got like no furniture at the moment, so I have nowhere to sit down inside.
No, that's okay. You're way better now. I can tell the latency is better.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. It'll just be smoother. Then that way we don't have any internet issues, and we can keep
that's totally fine.
Get a conversation going back and forth. But yeah, so thank you for those donations, everyone. Really, really appreciate that. And where were we, George? We were kind of talking about magic and time, and
we're talking about Bran and magic and kind of everything all at once. There's so much going on that we just don't know about. It's all moved really quickly. We kind of transitioned from this chess game setup that everyone was trying to get their pieces on the board to suddenly the Night King's now broken through the wall, and this is the end game. This is going to be where it wraps up.
It's pretty interesting because I think what George is also trying to do is, and he's really great at as an author, is creating the illusion that one storyline or one character is the main character, or a storyline where there's this overarching theme where he's trying to teach you a lesson. And I think by the end of the story, we'll have realized that, the children of the forest, some of the things that Leaf was saying, and some of the things that are said throughout the books, it's more about the natural balance between humans and nature, and not just the Game of Thrones, right? Just because so much is happening politically and democratically, and all these things that are going on through these characters, we see it through their eyes. So we don't have all of that actual information from all of these other things that are actually affecting the world, right? We're getting them very, very late into the story.
Herb just asked Scott just asked if I thought Bran is the hero of the story, and you kind of have to wonder about that. You know, Jon, I think, is the Song of Ice and Fire. He is the marriage of the Targaryen and the Stark bloodlines. But once we get past the prologue, who do we really concentrate on? Who's the first big character that we're kind of thrown in with? And it's Bran, isn't it? You know, and essentially when you talk about this in a literary fashion, the inciting incident is not the you have to, what is the inciting incident of the storyline? Is it the Rhaegar dying? Is it the death of Jon Arryn? Is it the one of those things? Or really is what sets this story in motion Bran getting thrown out of the window? And I think that it is Bran getting thrown out of the window. I think he really is the main bookend or overarching thing within the story, and his end game, his final spot, is going to be what really tells us what happens within the story. You know, I think we may get an epilogue, like, the what do people call it, the book writer ending with Sam telling the story or whatever it might be. But ultimately, I think the story is going to be, we see Bran get hurt, and then we're going to see a final shot of what happens with Bran at the end. And that's going to be what really bookends the story. What do you think, Kyle?
I think a really interesting thing that I've had this discussion the other day, and I was talking about the definition of perspective, and we get so many different perspectives within A Song of Ice and Fire and a Game of Thrones. We literally can pick and choose our favorite characters if we want to. We don't have to read all the chapters by Catelyn if we don't want to. I mean, you can skip through them, but they are part of the story, right? And then I think for Bran, George is using almost a third person omniscient narrative, where this is kind of where a narrator or author reports the facts as well as like interprets and everything in relation to a character. So almost like that godlike figure, and he's really trying. We see that through symbolism, obviously, and through actual physicality. But Bran is literally going through time and in dreams. So that's a really, really unique perspective that we get in the books and the show that no one else really has, other than maybe the Three-Eyed Raven or perhaps a couple other people that can. Specifically in the books, they can warg into animals, but that perspective of nature, that's what's so unique about the story. George is actually giving us that perspective. You know what I mean? Which is completely batshit. You don't see that in a lot of stories. You get your linear outcome, but you don't get to see all of the outside forces and how they're affected.
I agree. And one thing to consider is, kind of what you were just saying about visions and things like that. Who are all the characters we've seen who've had visions? We know Bran has visions. Melisandre, Dany,
Jon, probably.
I think Jon probably has in the books. He's had some odd dreams. But who's the one who we don't know about? And that's Rhaegar. Did Rhaegar have visions? If we knew that, we'd know so much more about this story than we currently do. It would just inform us so much more about what his thought process was that led him to do what he did. And what are the visions telling us? What are the visions telling us about the future? Which ones have come true? Whose?
It's so crazy, man. I've me and Gemma recently did an episode of the Citadel of Hype podcast, and we talked about Norse mythology, and how we see the symbolism, the snake eating its own tail. That has to do with time as well. Ouroboros, for some of you who don't know what the concept is the idea of birth, life, death, and then rebirth. And I think, obviously, we have prophecy, which talks about that. The Azor Ahai prophecy is probably the main one, which really focuses on that. But we see, each character and the characters that are making it to the end of the story anyways go through this period of life, and then, you know, who they once were dying and then them becoming these new people, right? Who is Bran going to become? Because like he's almost at that point where like he's become the three-eyed raven, but he's so much more than that, right?
Let's throw the $1 million question on the table, and you know that everyone in the audience wants to hear our thoughts on this. Is Bran going to end up being the Night King one way or another? I'm not saying anything specific, because we know there are a lot of different, you know, theories that people are throwing around. But do you potentially think that Bran is one way or the other? Either is he going to end up as the Night King? Is he this current Night King? Is you know, what do you think?
I think he's the most likely character other than Jon to become the Night King. Like Jon would be willing to sacrifice himself to, say, you know, bring the army of the dead north or something like that. You know, if there was a pact, Jon would probably be part of that because of the way his character has grown, like his negotiation skills and whatnot. Like,
right.
And I mean, you know, I saw interactions with him and Daenerys like late in the season. He's like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm a king. Like straight up, I'm going to do this because it's my choice, you know? And these kinds of things, he's really inspiring people to think more deeply and be more thoughtful about what they're doing. So Jon in that respect could be the Night King. I don't think that Bran is actually the Night King in the timeline that we're witnessing, the actual Game of Thrones timeline. But if it was a character, I think that Bran could be that character. I mean, he's the one who could affect time, right? Maybe he could warg. Maybe he was trying to warg into that. I mean, you know, that theory where he's trying to warg into the guy who's getting turned into the Night King. There's that theory, and he tries to talk to the children of the forest, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? You're just trying to deceive us because you want to kill us. You know, that type of scenario. So there's really so many ways it can go. But
so do you buy into that whole idea that Bran warged into that one person?
I don't. No? But you just typed in chat. You said you personally believe that Bran is the Lord of Light. And he's the influence behind I've told you Bran the Builder and all of these different people.
I've told you that before. I think Bran is every Bran. I think because of his ability and his lack of control, you know, his not knowing how his powers work. He's going to stumble through time, and he knows these moments, and he sees these moments, and he's going to be the thread that kind of links between them all, and he's going to, in his first few trips back, going to screw up some way, and then he's going to have to start coming through and fixing each one of them or trying to fix them, but he's going to continue to screw them up. And then eventually he's going to get to the point where he's so
he has to warg into the Night King, and Jon has. Wow. So Bran's going to try and go back and change things, and he literally has to warg into the Night King because that is the only option that he has, and he knows Jon can kill him.
Right.
Wow, that would be a crazy, crazy twist. The one interesting thing I just thought about too is we go back to what Bloodraven was saying. We don't know how truthful he was with Bran. Like we don't know his true intentions. He said what we can take what he said at face value.
Well, but he also said, who was that talking?
Yeah, I mean, some people think it's Bran.
Some people think it's Bran.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't even know if that guy's truly dead. He kind of had like that, you know, like his spirit dissipated. You know, maybe spiritually he's still alive. Like we don't truly understand the concept of how, you know, the weirwoods operate. I know we've talked about this a couple times, me and you myself. Like we believe they're kind of like a data bank or a hard drive where memories and stuff are stored. But what if Bran gets stuck in there? So that's essentially what you're trying to say is like Bran will get stuck because the three-eyed raven said if you stay too long, you will essentially drown.
Well, if he stays too long in any part of the past, he'll drown, right? And, you know, that doesn't mean he can't be bouncing around to all the different spots. So
you're thinking multiple timelines then, like.
Well, I think Bran, you know, okay, so follow this for a second. I've had 6 months to come up with this, guys. So this and it was an idea that the seed was initially planted last season, but Bran has kind of, you know, the three-eyed raven has set him on his course, given him these powers, and or not giving them the powers, but said this is how they work and shown him how they work initially. So Bran, kind of like that old show, the Greatest American Hero. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I might have.
Where the guy gets a super suit, but they forget to give him the instructions. So he spends the whole time trying to learn how to use the suit and making mistakes. And I think that's what Bran is doing.
You know, George R. R. Martin would totally be interested in that type of thing too, because it's not your typical superhero story, right?
Right. Yeah. You know, has he stayed too long already? Yeah, he might have.
I mean, we've seen changes in his personality already.
Oh, immediately. Isn't it crazy how much his personality's already changed?
Yeah.
He's, you know, the moment he got his download, for lack of a better word, he went from being kind of shy, kind of with, you know, I want to say withdrawn a little bit, to this suddenly, he's like
a shell of what he once was, right?
Well, it's not that, it's not a shell of what he once was. He is so perfectly
transcendent,
self-realized all of a sudden. Like he knows the answer. Like he knows who he is. He knows what he is. He may not know everything about it yet. He's an emo. So he suddenly has stepped up into a different world, you know? I mean, look at his power level now. Look at how
power level, yeah. That's what I like. That's what I like to categorize it as too.
You know, look at how he's now interacting with his sisters. You know, suddenly he had ideas and visions. Look at the trip on the way up to see Bloodraven, right? And I know you've talked about Joseph Campbell before, but think about going into Bloodraven's cave is Bran's trip into the underworld. That's where Bran has his mortification experience. That's where he dies. That's the moment that Bran, the old Bran, dies. And when they break out on the other side, literally breaking out of the underworld and coming back into the sun, he is a completely different person.
Right? And then there's the argument that is he even Bran? Yes, I believe he's Bran, but you know, he's essentially absorbed all the consciousness of all of the other three-eyed ravens.
Well, have you seen how into Dune are you?
Ooh, it's been years and years since I've read or seen anything of Dune. So I mean, like maybe 15 years.
So the Reverend Mothers in that, when they drink the water of life, they undergo a transformation, and now they can reach out and they have memories and experiences of all the Reverend Mothers who've come before them, and that's essentially what we just got with Bran. Bran contacted, he drank his version of the water of life, which was the Jojen paste, and he's now been converted to this other Bran who's totally hooked up. You know, he's got a Cat5 cable running right into his head, and the entire internet is dumping down into it, and he can access all these times and memories and things, but he has to figure out how to do it.
Faceless J has a great comment, George. He says Bran became all logic, and that leaves no room for emotion. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and think about it like this: he when he's now reaching out, he has all the answers, but he doesn't have the questions to ask. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it like that. You know all the answers, but you don't know the questions that they're answering. Like he could see a joust, but he wouldn't know like why the people were jousting. Like, so he has to rewind and try to go through all of the experience to figure that out and find that. He
literally has to experience those people's lives.
Right.
Which is incredibly complex. I mean, emotion is something that is something that is incredibly personal for each person, right?
Right. And you know, so when he goes back and he you know, is he going to look through Bloodraven's life? Is he going to look through Rhaegar's life? Is he going to, you know, that's a huge set of questions for this upcoming season. I think it's actually what they're going to cheap us on, or they're going to cheat us out of the most, is exactly that.
So let me ask you this question, and everyone in the chat, Alaska, everyone in the chat here too, George. We're going to get some flashbacks, right? What do you think we're going to see in flashbacks then? I mean, I think we have to see Rhaegar and Lyanna maybe at Harrenhal. like Night of the Laughing Tree. I don't know what else we would be getting.
I haven't heard anything about that being shot.
I mean, I think they're trying to keep all that stuff under wraps too, man. I mean, they want to have.
But when they go to the Harrenhal set, I mean, whether or not they like when that production company rolls up, I mean, we just have to assume they're shooting something there. And I haven't heard anything about the production company rolling up to Harrenhal.
They're still they're filming all the way up until June. So
yeah,
I mean,
so we have plenty of time.
Yeah,
I would hope that we see that. I don't, at this point, I don't think it matters if we see Howland Reed or not. Speaking of Harrenhal.
Oh, that one's gonna piss me off.
I know, but what difference does he make? How's he gonna affect the story? At this
point? I mean,
point?
Bran and Samwell can. I mean, they can just tell Jon.
They just killed Littlefinger based on Bran saying that he saw things.
Yeah, basically.
So why not have that same level of respect for Bran where Jon's parentage would be concerned?
Christine in chat says, I feel the opposite. I think they're going to use Bran filling gaps and answer ridiculous questions like, why do we need to capture a white? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. The episodes are going to be longer. We're not going to get 90-minute episodes every episode, but we are getting longer episodes.
I think you'd be surprised. I bet we do. I bet the average episode is close to 90 minutes long.
Well, when me and you interviewed Paula Fairfield, she was pretty adamant that they were going to be supersized when we went to conference last year.
Yeah, and they're shooting extra long, and they're just going to have so much material.
Yeah, a lot of people have been like, yeah, I can't stand the wait. You know what? Honestly, and I've been talking with other people about this. I think for me too. Is like, even using Con of Thrones, I never knew about Con of Thrones until you told me. And
it's the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first one, but still, I mean, but going to an event like that, having that opportunity to do these kinds of things before the show ends, like interacting with the community, I guess I'm actually on the other side of it now, where I'm happy with the wait because I want to be able to talk about it as long as possible before it's actually going. And I think,
I think there's a dual reason for them pushing it out a little longer, is that gives them time to shoot the pilot for the new show and get that out there in the meantime. Because I guarantee you that that pilot will be done for the end of the upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
And if they like it, it'll already be ready. They'll run the pilot like kind of like they did with the Super Bowl this year, announcing that Cloverfield Paradox was coming out right after the Super Bowl, and they'll do something just like that. They'll be like, here's the new show, and surprise, we're going to bring it out right at like the next week after the end of the season.
I think that's just going to happen with Winds of Winter. Personally, that's my pet theory. George announced that we're going to be getting Fire and Blood, the first of the 2 volumes on I think is it Aegon? Is Aegon the Unworthy? I can't remember which one it is, but we're getting. I think it's Aegon the Unworthy. But we're getting Fire and Blood this year for sure. So we're at least getting some more about Targaryen history. I don't think we're getting Winds this year. I'm not optimistic on it anymore.
I don't think he's going to put it out until the series is done. At this point, I think he's finished it.
Okay, this is a question before we get to all the people in the chat's questions. I know there's been some more questions. Do you think the ending is going to be the same then? Because
yes and no. I think like say Bran ends up as the Night King.
Yeah,
that will be the same. Like if
like Daenerys dies and Jon becomes king, that'll be the same.
All that sort of stuff will be the same. Now, that being said,
Valonqar, could they change that? Probably not, right? That's another thing that would probably stay the same.
But that doesn't affect the story. So and they purposely, they purposely didn't put it in. So, you have to ask yourself about that. Like, why didn't they put it in the first place?
Yeah, they can definitely do Arya on that one. I think, other than Jaime, there's a couple that they could do, like fan service wise. I know a lot of people would be really upset if it wasn't Jaime. I personally would be really okay if it was Jaime or Arya or Tyrion. I think it's going to be Jaime, but still.
I think it's going to be.
Say that again.
Well, I was going to say something. I'm like, maybe it's not that. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about shit before.
Yeah, but let's get to some questions in the chat, George. This has been really fun chat so far. You know, really, really happy to have you back. Obviously, it's been a while. I didn't want to announce it beforehand. I wanted to surprise everyone because everyone's been asking, and everyone in chat, if we could show a little love to George.
Oh, you guys are too nice.
You know, put a little hype and love in the chat. George, we're getting 4 new T-shirts, by the way. We're getting a hype and love T-shirt, which is happening, which I'm pretty excited about. Blaze manga.
I was thinking about that, or thinking about T-shirts, and I have my Tyrion Time Bandits shirt and the Night King as what's his name, Darth Maul T-shirt. And I was thinking, I'm going to just give you those to sell for yourself.
Are they like limited edition or something?
No, it's just the design. You can just re-input the design and sell them. Oh,
that's sweet. Yeah. For everyone in the chat, I know some of you who are in the chat have gotten their Azor Hype shirts. We have the original Azor Hype design, the one with Hypebringer, the sort of hype. But we have, what is hype may never die, hype and love, and then we have the Hype King, is the Night King coming, and then a special one. Can't tell you about, but yeah. We're gonna create an online store. T-shirts are a fun thing.
That's what I'm saying. I've got a couple of funny ones that you can add in and support the team.
Yeah, man. For every shirt that does get sold, by the way, split exactly with Blaze Manga, amazing content creators who I will be going to see in Houston a couple days before for Con Thrones. All right, George, let's take some questions from the chat. Are we taking pre-orders? There's no real pre-orders, Christine. But I mean, I can you can message me and I can let you know as soon as they're going to be going on sale. If people are really interested in that, you guys in the description of this video can hit me up on Twitter or Facebook and we can get something arranged for you. All right, so want to get some more questions, George? We have one from Cammy in chat.
Cameo.
Yeah, you want to read that one?
I'm rebooting my main computer, so you go ahead and do it.
Q&A, do you think there will be a Cleganebowl, really? Because I personally think Sandor will be north with Jaime and Brienne. So do you think Cleganebowl is going to go down? I personally think it's going to happen myself. I think there's going to be a giant 3-way battle in King's Landing. Battle of Blackwater 2.0 with Theon and Euron and Yara. I think there's going to be the Cleganebowl with Jaime and Arya and those people. And then I think Dany and Jon will take on the Night King with some sort of force. What do you think?
I think Cleganebowl is ultimately going to be pretty disappointing. I think it's going to happen. I think, when the Hound said to him, I have to kill you. We know that has to happen now. The question is going to be, how much is Arya going to be involved with that moment? Is she going to be a big part? She still has her list. So is it going to be something where they all kind of sneak into King's Landing and find the mountain and Cersei and kind of do it all at once? Is it going to be, the big battle comes in and she just kind of slices their necks the way that she did the Littlefinger? That's the question I'm asking. I think we know what's going to happen, but the specifics are what's eluding us at the moment.
Scott actually has a question specifically for you, George. Scott McCoy says, George, what are you most looking forward to in season 8?
The ending of the Grey Worm Melisandre relationship.
That's savage.
Well, I mean, it's just so, come on. I mean, okay, you want to talk about some differences between the book and the show? Yeah. How old is Melisandre in the book? 10?
She's very
11?
young.
She's super young, right?
I think she's 12 maybe, or 11. She speaks 20 languages and
she's a child.
Yeah.
And that whole thing just felt so shoehorned in. I'm just like, just get it over with. I thought he was going to die last season. And I'm not going to say I want to see him Grey Worm gone, but that's just if let's say there was 1,000 minutes of Game of Thrones time left.
Yeah.
Every moment spent on that rather than some other
waste. I agree. Yeah. Okay. Now I see it.
It's just a complete waste. I don't care.
We're gonna get some more questions in the chat. I want to do a quick shout out. We're up to 88 patrons as of today. The goal is to get to 100 by the end of the month. You guys are nuts. We have Jess Jordan, who is newly joined today. We have Brian Roman. We have Jude, who recently joined. We have Craig Mulvey. Let me scroll down here. I'm trying to get the list. You guys are crazy. We have Valerie Wonderdog, Mia Online. We have Marika, Amy, Nancy. And that's it for February. We've done really, really well so far, but we're like 12 away from 100, George, which is nuts, right? Like we were just talking like a month ago and it was like 40 or something. So
that's awesome.
All right, let's get to some more questions in the chat, but thank you everyone who has pledged to Patreon. Really, really appreciate that. Karen has a comment for the t-shirt storage. I hype and I know things. That's what I do. We could get that t-shirt done. I think that's a doable thing. We have another question here, George. Sir Roland de Stark. Hey, do you think that House Dayne's words are why GRM says he says that if we knew what they are, it would spoil the story? Do you think the Danes are that important? I mean, their house words like literally give away the ending.
Well, you know, are they nowhere? I mean, they weren't in the guidebook.
Good question, man. I mean,
so I read them one time when they were talking about Dawn. Isn't it something like the rising star or the star always rises or something?
Oh, man. Oh, I swore. Fallen and Reborn that's not it, is it?
No, that's what I mean. There's something like that just is kind of buzzing around in the back of my head, and I can't exactly remember what it is. So, oh well, I don't know. I don't think it would give it away.
Does anybody know in the chat? I think Dawn is important. I think that, yeah, in the show it didn't look great, but I mean, it was pretty. As far as the prophecy goes, I mean, Jon was born under a bleeding star. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Well, think about it like this. Like, I mean, Dawn is out there somewhere. How or where in the final season could Dawn come back into the story?
Well, I mean, in the books, Ned brought it back to Starfall, and then Ashera jumped to her death after that, right?
Right.
In the show, I think it could be possible that it's like in the Crypts of Winterfell or something. But Ned had a lot of respect for Arthur. You know what I mean?
No, Ned loved Arthur. He hated the fact that they had to fight.
Like like Ned knew he would have lost if it wasn't for Howland, and he didn't want to kill Arthur, but he had to.
The fight was over. He'd lost.
Yeah.
Arthur was gonna, he was a Cuisinart. He chopped right through all of them.
Yeah, that was. By the way, I actually love that scene. I know some people are kind of critical of the fight scene, but I actually love it.
I tell you what, if you like that fight scene, every Black Panther fight better.
Say that again. Black Panther?
Black Panther.
Man, somebody was saying, for those of you who've seen the Last Jedi Praetorian Guard scene, which was amazing.
That was me. I'm the one who said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is our Black Panther's fights better?
500 times better.
Wow, that's insane.
Like you know how much of a Star Wars fan I am?
Yes.
I have not seen The Last Jedi a second time yet. I might go see Black Panther again this weekend.
That's how good it is. Wow. I was gonna go tonight, but I won't lie. I had about 6 day beers today, so
that might be the best way to go see it.
Really, eh?
Oh, dude, it's that good. It's that much fun.
Maybe I should get the Weirwood out. Okay, so
back to work.
Yeah, back to work here.
No spoilers about Black Panther. I'm just saying the fight scenes are that good. The costumes are that good. The new characters are freaking awesome. I love them. I'm going to see this movie a second time.
Yeah, I'm going to go see it. Gruddy has a question, George. Do you think Rhaegar was Azor Ahai and Jon is Lightbringer, and Jon is Azor Ahai and Daenerys is Lightbringer? I mean, that's
literally, and I mean in a fashion of literariness. Yes, he could be.
That would be tragic, right? And Robert Baratheon is the great other who killed Azor Ahai. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's the way it could definitely be. where in the cycle did we actually pick up the story? I think that's one of the important things that we don't know is, was Rhaegar Azor Ahai? Is Jon? Is Bran? Bran might be. We don't know. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, man. I don't think Bran is. I in the end, I've been thinking a lot of how it might be Jaime, because Jaime and Cersei is one of the first relationships we're exposed to, and I don't know, man. It's either Jaime or Jon for me, not Daenerys. Sorry, everyone.
Well,
But
why would it be? I mean, I don't think it's Jaime at this point.
I think that here's the thing. I think that Jaime will do something just as spectacular as Jon, but he might not. It's possible he might not get recognized for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, do you think Jaime is going to get his big hero ending, or is
yeah,
he going?
I do.
Or is he going to die ignominiously?
I think Jaime's going to get a big hero ending. I do.
Huh.
Actually, we should pull everyone in chat. Will Jaime get a hero's ending? That doesn't mean he has a happy ending, because I think he's going to die. But does he get a hero's ending? Does he die the death of a warrior? Worthy of getting the words changed in the white book, that type of deal. Bran is a Pentium 3 processor. Oh my God, George. Okay, I actually understood that. So okay, there's yes, there's a lot of yes. He's gonna get his hand back. See the words for Lightbringer are Axios Onios, which actually
it's Lumos Expelliarmus.
Well, you know what the funny thing is too is the golden hand actually translates to the same word. It's Axion and there's Axio. So they're very similar in saying. So some people think that Jaime, because he is golden, I mean, and George describes him in the books, and then people look at Jaime and he was like golden and beautiful and armored, and George definitely foreshadows visually that way a lot in the books specifically. In the show, it's different because you can't give too many visual cues, otherwise you're just giving things away, right?
Well, I think so much of that has. Okay, remember like last year when we were talking and I said, stop overthinking and start to, wait a second. Stop overthinking and start realizing that when George R. R. Martin says something like Starfall, Winterfell, whatever, blah, blah, whatever the name is, he's telling you what it is. He's not saying it's anything but that. Stop overthinking. In the prophecies, when every prophecy that has come true, it has literally been exactly what it says. No interpretation needed. Just face value.
So basically what you're trying to say is that Arya is Arya and she's not the waif?
No. That's not what I was saying at all. I wasn't bringing that up. I was giving you that off for the new year.
Oh God, man!
You hadn't
George literally would troll me like every single time we were about to record or do like a video on that. Like Arya's the waif. Actually, someone commented it in my video today. How could you not see that Arya is the waif after the way she fought Brienne? As I've done Arya videos the past 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't even reply. I didn't know if it was you as a troll or if it was someone who was actually being serious.
Although someone did just comment about the waif being Littlefinger or something. Wasn't that what someone just said?
Well, there's that new theory where when Littlefinger is meeting where Arya is watching
the girl in the background.
And somebody believes that she was paid a sum, and because if you turn up the volume, your time is up.
You can hear that, and you can also kind of see the coin. I mean, that's some good reporting right there. I mean, those people spotted that. I don't know if it's real, but it could be.
Yeah, waif's dead. I think the waif is dead, but just for fun's sake, I I have done Arya to death lately. I'm actually doing a whole video of psychology of Arya and Cersei coming up. Been working on that behind closed doors. Some really interesting. I dive into a sociopathic behavior and whatnot. I'm not saying for Arya or Cersei because but you know, it's pretty interesting when you try to, you know, their personality type, and then you start to research more on their actions and how they interact with people. It's pretty interesting. There's so George, people keep on coming in the chat. I just want to thank people again. People keep on saying, Kyle, great news. Yeah, thanks, guys. No back surgery, like, and George can attest to this. George is like, you know, my best bud. We talk about everything. George knew how much it was stressing me out. I had to deal with this for 3 years straight. Yep. So for me to get that answer, to know that I can actually rehab, is like the biggest weight off my shoulders ever. So thank you so much, everyone. Like, I posted it on Twitter that I was going to my appointment yesterday and all that, and like I got like literally 50 private messages, which is insane. So awesome. Back to Game of Thrones though. What else do we want? What else do we want to talk about, man? There's Preston Roach in the chat. Do you think there will be a tension between Gendry and Jon when she learns the truth? No, I don't think so at all.
No, because Gendry doesn't. That's not what he wants. He wants that even less than Jon does. He just wants to be able to make things and do his thing. I think you know who we haven't talked about. Will Jon ride a dragon? Yes.
Yes, 100%. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, he will. Faux show.
I think it's gonna be Drogon.
There's that whole idea that one dragon has one rider and blah blah blah.
I don't agree with that.
Well, whether or not you agree with it, I think Dany's going to be the one now, the two who dies, and when she dies, I think that's when Jon will ride Drogon.
Because I think this isn't my theory, by the way, but imagine, because Viserion ended up dying by the Night King's spear, right?
Yeah, but still, why? This is one of the big unanswered questions for me. The Night King has his, surface-to-air missile system there, and he decides to take down Viserion for a reason rather than Drogon.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have shot down either one. And if he shot down Drogon with everybody on it, then story's over. Right?
We talked about this so many times too, and it's perplexing because they just sat there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Whites couldn't cross the lake because it wasn't frozen enough at that point.
Right.
But
and I think that's the single biggest thing that tells us that the Night King has some other deal going on. There's something else that he's got. Is he Bran? Is he something else?
Well, here's the thing too. That formation when they're marching, when the part of the wall by Eastwatch is destroyed, they kind of look like a Stark direwolf, did it not? Like when they panned above, did not look like a direwolf head?
I'll have to go back and look at that. It didn't occur to me.
Oh, geez. We have another donation here from Amberlynn McKay. Just a few bucks for a beer to celebrate your great news. Can't believe you had to wait 2 years. You're a tough Northman. Love, Amberlynn. Yeah. A lot of people have it way worse, so I won't say I'm tougher than anyone else, but it was shitty. I'll just leave it at that. But I got to see the best specialist for my specific type of injury, one of the top specialists in all of Canada, which is great. So I wanted to make sure that I had the right, if I'm going to make a big decision to get back, like get a disc out of my back, I want to make sure that someone knew what they're doing, Jews, dude. Okay, so like Jon's gonna ride a dragon. Is that gonna be like is the final battle gonna be 1v1 sword fight or on dragon then? Because like I don't know, man.
It's gonna start out on dragon. It has to.
It has to, right?
I mean,
and Drogon's gonna be so much bigger too.
What did Paula tell us? Unlimited dragon money. She was very specific about how she chose those words. Unlimited dragon money next season.
George, just for everyone who doesn't know who Paula is, can you explain to everyone who she is in the chat?
Paula Fairfield is the sound designer for the show. We got to interview and meet her at Con of Thrones last year, and we ran into her a couple times during the con and got to ask some extra questions and stuff. But
when we did our initial interview, she everybody only got like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like she went on for like 12, 13 minutes. It was nuts.
Yeah, and she was very after our question, she was very adamant in her answer. She's like, "No, you don't understand. There are unlimited dragon funds for next season." Like, because someone asked about Ghost and why they weren't showing up and special effects and them having to make choices between giants and direwolves and that sort of stuff. And she's like, all that aside, unlimited dragon budget.
Dragons, White Walkers, dragons versus like she said she got to she couldn't really reveal too much because she still works on the show, right? And she answered the part of the question if the Night King would ever speak, which was what we were really interested in, right? The Night King will probably never speak. She said that he's basically above speaking because of how powerful he is, but
she also said that they couldn't make it sound right.
Yeah, the scroth, the crackling ice, they couldn't get the effect that they wanted. It just they consulted with David Peterson and George and everyone, but they didn't get where they wanted to with it, so they decided to basically just have him as like a giant force of nature. But basically, White Walkers versus dragons, and she said that she thinks it's going to be the best season of television ever, visually and as far as like fight scenes and stuff go. She thinks it's going to be just absolutely bonkers, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy off the hook.
We got another donation, then we'll get some more questions, George. We have Nathan Hartswick, and he says, just want to say thanks for all the great videos. Thanks, Nathan. Really, really appreciate that. I'm trying some new things with some new editing software. I'm getting a new computer tomorrow. I'm actually getting a Mac. I know some of you have said, yeah, I know. George is a computer software guy, but I'm really excited. I'm getting a 27-inch 5K Retina display. Pretty excited for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Final Cut Pro. I've been studying. So new videos are coming. But yeah, thanks for that, Nathan. We got some more questions here. People were trying to get to as many as we can. You guys are moving crazy fast in the chat tonight. I know you guys are excited to see George back. And George is going to be more on he's going to try to be more active on the channel, guys. George had a not really my place to say, but he had some things going on and he was pretty busy, and but he's back more or less.
Yeah. Viserion has stopped growing. He's very dead.
Yeah, Viserion's not going to get any bigger, but Drogon is definitely going to get bigger. He's going to be huge.
Do you think so? I think he's basically, if you look at his, someone did a couple shot comparisons of his head size next to Balerion, and he's not far off from what I heard at this point.
He's not far off, but I think he's going to be. I think he's going to end up killing Viserion. By the way, someone had a comment and said he would melt Viserion's skull like Viserys died from Drogo. That would be kind of cool. Kind of like because their names are Viserion and Drogon.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, he's very dead. Is that your house saying? Videos are coming? No, it's a hype and love Daisy. But I think we have a lot of house sayings. I don't think there's really one. I'm gonna try to scroll up. More questions. People we're definitely down. We're gonna chill for a little bit longer. I'm not gonna keep George too long tonight. And I'm
good.
You're good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Let's see what else.
Mysterio. Yeah. So let's talk about the Faceless men for a second. We haven't talked really much about that.
I have to go to the bathroom, George. Can you hold on to the crowd here while I go to the bathroom? Okay,
I got it. So, as many of you know, we got to talk to Miltos about Syrio, and I think that we're seeing the whole idea that the Faceless men might be coming back in strength this season. So. Oh, let's see, what was it? Livia wrote, does anyone remember seeing Zora? He's locked up. He's dead. Yeah, he's gone. But the as far as the Faceless men go, are they going to be coming back and playing a major role this season? And yes, I believe they have, and I think, or they're going to. They're totally linked to the Iron Bank. I think that there's probably a backdoor between the Iron Bank and the House of Black and White, and they're totally working together. We know that the Faceless men make a lot of money. So what's he going to, or where do they store it? What do they use it for? And I think they have to be kind of the secret power behind the Iron Bank. So Jaqen is going to be back. There's still things left that he's going to have to do. And one thing that I was going to talk to Kyle about, and I will once he gets back, is with Jaqen and oh geez, I just spaced on his name. From the Iron Isles. What's his God, I can't believe I'm spacing on this. Sorry, everybody. So who's what's his name's older brother? Someone type it into the chat real fast. Not Tito. Euron, right? Thank you. I think that Euron has used. I think he used that dragon egg to pay off the Iron Bank to get his kill. And as we know, if the Faceless men are going after a top level person, that it's a huge amount of money.
Crazy amounts of money, like crazy.
Right. So I think what we're going to see is that Euron has this backdoor game that he has going on in order to kill off Cersei.
Very interesting, man. Showa, I don't know if I'm convinced if that's going to happen. I'm really down on. I mean,
the Faceless men know her list or know
Arya's list. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they have to know everybody on it. So if they get a mission to pay for someone on that list, who do you think they're going to try and send?
I mean, well, it will be no one. But
it'll be no one. But
for the show, they'll make it Jaqen.
Well, do you think it'll be Jaqen, or do you think it's going to be Arya? Like, do you think?
Well, I mean, a Faceless man will contact Arya. I think that's more than likely.
Right.
I can see that happening for sure.
I mean, and that's what I think is going to go on with Cersei's death. I think that's where we're going to see it. Don't you?
I think it's a great possibility too. They've shown that handmaiden a lot too. I think that there could be like a little force that sneaks in with like Jaime Lannister and
the Romulan handmaiden.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember what her name is. But they've shown her too many. I don't know, that interaction showing her last season. I don't think it would it just felt odd to me. You know what I mean? Having to show Jaime and Cersei together. I mean, I don't know.
They did it to lock her in our brains. Remember, kind of the way that right before Arya poisoned all of the Freys.
Yeah.
The
server, yeah.
The server, they put that in there so we knew who she was. We knew that she was going to play a role, and she did. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that handmaiden is probably going to be maybe, who we see interact in that way.
What's really interesting too is I was actually rewatching the scene this morning where Sansa takes the faces out of Arya's bag. And the first face she takes out looks a lot like Samwell Tarly's. A lot. So I'm wondering, because she had Walder Frey's face, but who was that other face? Was that another Frey? Like, why would she take two Frey's faces? I don't know, man. It looked a lot like Samwell. It really threw me off. I don't know. People go back and watch that scene. I'm not saying that it's Sam, but I'm saying it's really, really odd. If you go back and stop it, it looks just like Samwell Tarly. So I don't know if that's something that's going to be explored, if that's like a big twist in the story or something. I mean, I don't know. It'd be weird because Arya doesn't know about, the annulment and all that. So I don't think it is, but it was just weird.
Yeah, it's completely weird.
What else are you interested in seeing in? Like, I mean, who's the first big character to die in season 8, George? Like, I mean, I've been thinking about that lately. I've been having a tough time. I think it's Beric Dondarrion, maybe. Is that a good choice?
Does he even count as a big character?
Nah, well, he's pretty popular now. I mean,
everybody knows who he is, but yeah, I mean, he's low hanging fruit. You know he's going to die.
Oh, for sure. I know he's going to die, but I mean, okay, here's another question then. Are you happy that we got more Beric and those guys than Lady Stoneheart? Because remember how I ate a sock live on air, predicting that Lady Stoneheart was going to be on the show?
I don't remember that at all. Could you show us again how you did that?
Yeah, I ate a sock live on air. It's in an older video. I'd have to go back and check it out.
I know, I'm just giving you crap.
But like, is that a change that is like, well, whatever. Like, I mean, was Lady Stoneheart? I mean, does that mean Lady Stoneheart isn't going to make that big of an impact too? Because some people argue that Dan and Dave are screwing things up.
Oh, how are they really screwing things up?
I don't know. I think they've done a good job. There's things that I don't agree with. I mean, I don't agree. I mean, Euron and Dorne, I'm not happy with, but oh, sweet. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, he doesn't really affect anything. Or Dorne. I mean, I wanted Dorne. I of all people wanted Dorne to do something big, but it didn't. Fell on its face. And ultimately because I think it doesn't affect the overall storyline.
See, that's the thing too. Like, a lot of people argue, they're like, "Oh yeah, the books are way better than the show." Well, I mean, yeah, the books are friggin' amazing. Okay, like I'm not going to argue that. But when the books come out, I'm going to be excited to read the Lady Stoneheart plotline, and that's for me having two different mediums. Like, I'm just excited about having both. You guys know me. I'm an optimist, so either way, I'm going to be excited because I'm getting more material. Like that's, I mean. Everybody's like, "Oh, Dan and Dave are doing Star Wars." I don't care. I'm getting more Star Wars. Like, I'm just a Star Wars fan, Not all people see it that way, but obviously not all of the changes are going to go the way you like.
Right.
Oh, man. Everybody, shout out to Fantoni. He's another YouTuber. Really, really nice guy.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, he's been doing great work, guys. If all you guys could go check out his channel, he's got a great, I mean, Fantoni, let's be honest. If I had your voice, dude, but he says, "Hey Kyle, what's up? It's really great to hear you don't need back surgery." Yeah, man. We're just chatting, Fantoni. We should have you on the channel sometime, man. We'd love to chat with you. Not too much. We're just literally taking questions from the chat and kind of just. My buddy George here hasn't been on the channel for quite some time, so we're just, shooting the shit essentially. Okay. Let's see. Tommen should have not have died. I don't know. I mean, I think he's gonna die no matter what because of the whole Cersei prophecy and Maggie the Frog and the Valonqar.
I George R. R. Martin is a big geek, and one of the things that, like, you've been to a couple conventions now, and you have an idea of what sort of happens and doesn't happen at conventions.
Yeah,
he's been going to conventions since the early 70s, and.
Even before that, right? Like, wasn't he like? I mean, the first Comic-Con wasn't it like 30 people or something?
Yeah, and I think he was at it.
Yeah, he was at the first one, right? And they were like sharing comics and stuff.
Exactly. And there's a kind of humor and comedy that when you get to know a lot of those older writers and older nerd activists and comic people and Star Trek people, there's a certain kind of humor that they have, and if you're not kind of versed in it, it might go over your head. And they love double entendres, and they love wordplay and this sort of stuff.
Yeah, red herrings too.
Oh, exactly. So when the name is King's Landing and how Tommen, lives up to that literally, that is so George R. R. Martin comedy, like that. I'm sure he still chuckles about that all the time.
I mean, obviously it means that Aegon the Conqueror landed and planted his essentially flag dynasty in King's Landing,
Right.
Iron Throne, that type of thing. But for the sake of deconstruction, yes, George is also a troll.
He totally is. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he actually trolls half of these sites himself. Like he's the one doing it.
You mean like posting on like free
I swear he probably does. He probably goes in and posts like total red herrings and asks the silliest questions. Just so
what's really funny too is a lot of those people take everything as gospel, right? So it'd be super funny if it was George and he's like, yeah, like Euron becomes king of Westeros, Game of Thrones season 8, episode 6. That's how the story ends. Like people are like these, because people are covering the plot leak videos and they're like claiming that it's real,
Yeah.
But that'd be really, chat, vote. Is George the trolls on all the message boards? That's what we want to know.
Watch his comments that he puts out in his interviews and stuff. He totally trolls everybody with his interview comments.
Too, like, he does get defensive, and I mean, rightfully so. I mean, when you're passionate about something, you should be. You know what I mean? When people come at me and they're like, "Kyle, you're too positive," I'm going to defend myself and be like, "Hell yeah, I am." This guy, because of what I believe in. George is the same way about his story. You know what I mean? People, say nasty things on Twitter and and his blog. I'm sure all the time, like on a rate that we probably couldn't even imagine, right? Like, he's probably the most successful author in the world, or one of the most famous at this point, right?
I actually looked up his numbers. They're not as big as you think.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look that up then. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, there's some crazy people that have way outsold him. He's done really, really, really well, but look it up. You go on Amazon or some of the other sites, and they'll show you like how many books each writer sold.
I want to give a shout out to Blaze Hawkins, another new patron who just subscribed. I just got an update on my email here. I try to check these as quick as possible so I can do shout outs and live streams when people do super chat and Patreon. Blaze, welcome to the Hype and Love family. Thanks, man. We're at what are we at now? Are we at 89? We're almost at 90, I think. You guys are crazy, man. I think we might hit 100 this month. Yeah, we're at 89 now. So awesome. Thank you for that. Got some more questions in here. James Barnum says Q&A. Kyle, do you think it will end on the Trident as per Dany's dream or at King's Landing, like the House of the Undying vision in the show? So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. The God's Eyes right near the Trident. Harrenhal is there. That's also a spot where, Rhaegar got killed by Robb Baratheon. That, we talk about history repeating itself all the time. Is that something that's going to go down the Trident, or do we think it's going to happen in King's Landing, man?
No, it has to happen in King's Landing. They've been shooting around the King's Landing sets. They've been doing all that. That foreshadowing's been set up for so long. We have to see. We have to see the keep get its roof torn off and snow and stuff. It's got to be King's Landing. Now, I think there will also be a secondary at the God's Eye.
So Bran, kind of, there'll be like a two separate battles, or there'll be like a smaller battle and a bigger battle.
I think there's going to be a physical battle between Euron and the Golden Company and all that stuff at King's Landing, and sort of a more metaphysical, magical battle at the God's Eye between Bran and the Night King.
So kind of like Voldemort and Harry Potter, almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I can get down with that. Yeah, sorry everyone, I was interrupting George. That was my Guinness can opening. Every can of Guinness does that. So
Varys, we haven't talked about Varys in a long time.
You know what? I got a ton of questions lately about him. You want to talk about Varys?
Yeah, let's talk about him for a second.
All right. So obviously, we don't have a lot of information on what he heard in the Flames, and I don't think we're getting Kinvara in the show again.
What do you think he heard?
I don't know. Like, to shock Varys, it has to be something really serious.
Well, no, I don't think it necessarily. Okay, here's my thought on that one. When Kinvara said that to him,
yeah,
he instantly knew that she knows something. Now, I don't think that what was said is necessarily nearly as important as the fact that he suddenly realized that she knows it and there's a connection, and he's fearful of the magic itself more so than
What was actually said?
what was actually said.
Hmm.
Because
I don't think we're ever going to find out.
you don't.
I don't think we're ever going to find out what Varys heard in the flames. I think Varys and Melisandre are going to get roasted by the Night King.
No, I don't think Melisandre is.
You don't think Melisandre is?
No, I think one of two things is going to happen to Melisandre. I think either she's going to get roasted by Dany, or
That's it.
Or remember that little figure I showed you the picture of?
Oh yeah, the blue Melisandre figurine. Yeah.
And that's in George's personal collection. He had that specifically made. So either he's trolling us with that, or it means something.
You know, there's been a lot of debate about that. I can't remember what video I talked about that recently in a video, about it, that could be a thing, you know, how I didn't necessarily say that she was the nice queen, but, I kind of likened her to Hel, the daughter of Angrboda, the frost giantess, in the story of Ragnarok, which is basically the apocalypse. I could see it happening. I mean, I don't know how big of a role she's going to have. You know, she could have a really big one. She's like one of those characters you talked about earlier that has that unique world perspective like Bran. I mean, she's been around for a super long time.
How long? How long do you think she's been around?
400 years? It's suspected that it's
Something
400
like that,
years.
right?
Yeah. So that's close to what the Doom of Valyria was what? Around that time? 500 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 around then. Because when did the dreamer have her dream?
Daenerys the dreamer had her dream, and then I think they went to Dragonstone in 15 years. Was it 15 years later that the doom happened? Something like that.
Yeah.
And the Targaryens weren't even like the biggest house. They were one of the smaller houses as far as hierarchy went, in Valyria. They were not a major house.
Yeah. No,
which is interesting. That might tell us a little something about the end of the story for Westeros too. You know what I mean? Because that was apocalypse by fire for essentially the Roman kingdom. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a little bit of a precursor or something that we can kind of look to happen in Westeros. But you know, the history in Westeros, we know a little bit more about, you know, the Children of the Forest and the Wall and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say more important than Essos, but it is, because we focus more on what's in Westeros, right?
Right.
So what do you think then? I said it in the Citadel of Hype podcast. Sorry, Michael. I do so many videos. Sometimes I forget, man. You know, I talk about so many different things. Famar says, "Holy moly, Kyle, your beard is ready to compete with Dumbledore's." I thank you. That's beautiful of you to say. Okay, you know, do we want to talk about more about this then? Like,
well, I mean, so we kind of didn't wrap up Varys. So let's wrap him up real quick.
How does he die?
In Westeros.
He dies in Westeros. He's not going back to Essos.
No, he's not. And here's the thing.
Does he die betraying Daenerys? Is that a thing? I mean,
well,
that's most people think that.
Well, because he made the solemn pledge to her and blah blah blah. So of course that's what everyone's going to think.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be roasted, man. It's funny because he's supporting the Dragon Queen, you know, and in the books, it's, you know, he might be behind that whole Fagon. He's definitely not a real Targaryen. He's a black.
Here's a question for you. Now that we you know, R plus L equals J has pretty much been proven, right?
That's 100. That's 1,000% true,
right?
Man. So Shara plus Ned is my most hated theory.
So we have R plus L equals J. How do all these people? How is that not more well known? How honestly was that not more well known than it is?
Are you saying that Varys might know about it? I mean,
how do you not know about it?
I mean, Littlefinger implied that he knew something about it. I mean, he
Right.
had that conversation with Sansa in the crypts, right? So
Well,
that's like,
I think he implied that he knew about it because I still think that he intercepted a letter that was meant for someone else.
yeah,
And he
I
helped
don't know
him.
if I'm 100% behind that, but I think he definitely had information. He was pretty young when the tourney of Harrenhal happened, though.
Yeah, but he was super pissed off. Imagine if you were a 14-year-old who just got basically cut in half by someone's older brother, and you wanted to kind of screw them all over.
People in chat, man, don't troll me with this Ashera stuff, man. I hate it. Yeah, Varys. So, I mean, and then there's the thing too. When Varys was visiting Ned in the Black Cells, what did Ned have that information in the letter or something to give to Jon? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and did Ned tell Varys, hey, I'm not getting out of here. Here's some information that might prove useful to you, but my sister's Jon's mom, not someone else, right? I don't think he did. I think he was hallucinating too much at that point.
Just even based on reaction, like, obviously we have 7 seasons to go on, and most of you have seen all 7 seasons of a Game of Thrones, I'm guessing, because if you're watching it, then you're definitely getting spoiled. But if we go back and look and after everything we've watched and be like, hey, yeah, Ned is definitely thinking about his sister in this moment. He loved her in an infinite amount. And that's why he reacted that way, right? And that's why he was like, he couldn't even trust Catelyn, man. So that would there's no way that it's that Jon is anybody else's. The thing is too is that it's so important for specific parts of the story because Ned and Rhaegar are actually a lot alike, believe it or not. So, but it all comes down to Jon talking to Theon last season, not having to choose. You're a Greyjoy and you're a Stark, man. That's totally going to bounce back on Jon. Why do you think they put that in the show? 100% Jon's going to be reflecting. Maybe he's even reflecting at the Heart Tree in Winterfell, and he's like, Ned, how can you have done this to me, man? Like, you could have just told me. Well, no, like, Jon will realize that he couldn't have.
No, because Robert would have killed him.
100%. So,
right? I mean, there's no question about that. Robert would have killed him immediately.
Which makes Ned Stark even more of a hero. Like, look at how much he had to sacrifice, right? And I think a lot of that in the end, like Ned's been relevant for 7 seasons. Know what I mean?
Ned is not a hero. Ned's not a hero. Ned is not a great sword fighter. Ned is not any of these things that so many people ascribe to him. He's actually he makes bad decisions. He's so stuck in his ways. He gets killed because he can't play the game.
So he's Boromir.
It's essential. I mean, he is Boromir.
He is Boromir. What? Why does he sound like Kermit? I don't know what you're saying there, Fame. More context, please. Yeah, so I guess getting back to it, Varys, does he have an important role to play in season 8? Final thoughts on that.
Varys? Yeah, he's got to. I don't know what it is. I think there's the rumor of that deleted scene. The one where he's talking back to his little birds. And he's got to have some contact. He's going to come up with 1 or 2 pieces of information, but he's not necessarily going to, I don't know. I mean, there's so much stuff. Like, how do people not know that Jaime saved everyone by stabbing the Mad King? How do they not know that Rhaegar and Lyanna hooked up? How do they... some of these secrets seem to be bigger than what's at Area 51. I mean, how many people have to have been around them? How many people are around them? And these are all, think about it, these are all major conspiracies. So many people have had to be quiet about it. How did everybody remain quiet about all of these things for so long?
Yeah, I don't even know, man. You know what's crazy too is the fact that Ned is dead and he's still giving weight to the word of his not even son, people who is his bastard beyond the grave. Like just the way George, we all thought Ned was the main character, and then boom, he gets his head chopped off, and then 7 seasons later, we're like, oh, okay, well, Jon, this bastard is obviously, this is a story that's been told before. The hero's journey, King Arthur, the rogue prince in exile, living.
Okay, so you mentioned something pretty important. The little bear made her speech about Ned Stark's blood flows in his veins. It doesn't. Ned Stark's blood does not flow in his veins, right? So what's going to happen when they find out that it does not flow in his veins? He's not. He was never the rightful king of the North, or even halfway rightful king of the North.
One of my favorite characters, and there's not a ton about this character, and his name is Cregan Stark.
Right.
For those of you who have read The World of Ice and Fire and some of the history and lore of Song of Ice and Fire, there was this time called the Hour of the Wolf, and basically what happened was like Aegon II ended up getting assassinated, and the thing is like Cregan was actually allied with the people that like were killing this guy. You know what I mean? But he went down there and literally persecuted them and like executed all 20 of them. And he
in like one day.
And he ruled for like it was like he was down there for like 6 days, and then he married I think it was like some beautiful lady, some southern house, and he took her back up north, and like they eloped and they had kids or whatever. I think I could kind of see a scenario like that, maybe, you know what I mean? Where like, because Jon is gonna kind of have this like George Washington type of scenario, you know what I mean? Where he goes down there, because he spoke about, he's like, he's not gonna want to become king, but he's gonna do his duty, like he's always done. That's just in his character. So I could see a scenario more like that, you know what I mean? Go down. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, because
I mean, Jon's blood is Rhaegar's, right? So like, I mean, but he's still Stark though, and you can tell like, his name is Aegon, but he will probably always associate with Jon, because after everything that's happened, he will have realized what Ned did for him,
There are all these people who could have found other pathways. Like we were talking about Jaime a little earlier, about how the things that he did could have set things up differently. So I don't know, man. I don't know. All these people have made so many mistakes.
That's kind of the thing, though, right? I mean, we're kind of at the point in the story where like the world is pretty much in shambles, right? At some point, it's going to reach its lowest point, but then it's like, it's just going to have to go. There's nowhere but up from here, unless George takes a completely different route and is like, White Walkers win or something like that. Now, and I don't see that happening. So, but James has a good point in the books. Robb Stark named him heir in so he legitimized him.
We knew that he was going to. I don't think we ever saw him actually do it. So we don't have confirmation of that in the books or on the show.
The show, no. Books, I think it's probably going to happen. I think that might be one of the differences that go down. Jane Westerling is going to be in the prologue, right? That's confirmed, I think. And I think that anybody that's in the prologue is pretty much dead, right? So for the Winds of Winter, Jane Westerling has been rumored, or George announced that she was going to be in the prologue. So that's kind of something that, if Robb has a child, she's probably not going to have it. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. But what do you think, though? Let's say Jon survives the series, okay? Is he going to become king? Is he going to split the kingdoms? Is he just going to go back to the north and live a normal life with because him and Daenerys are going to have a kid. She's 100% pregnant. How does all of that go down, man? I don't know. There's so many ways it could go.
As far as that goes, I think Dany's going to die.
a lot of people have been giving me shit lately about that. They're like, Kyle, you can't see anything else other than Daenerys dying. I really can't, though. I mean, especially in the show with how they set it up with all of her speeches and stuff. Like, I don't know, just the relationship between Jon and Daenerys. I think Jon is the alpha in that relationship.
Well, not even that. I mean, Dany is, she's a paper dragon. I went there. She's a paper dragon.
She's the Mummer's dragon? Sweet.
Yeah, she is. She's not the real ruler. Jon is. Jon is the rightful heir.
So that's the interesting thing too, because you get all of these.
Oh my god, I never thought about that. Holy shit.
Opposites, right? I mean, Daenerys' destiny is.
No. Remember the Mummer's dragon. I mean, you just said that.
So Daenerys
Varys is supporting her.
So Daenerys is the Mummer's dragon, yo?
Dany is the Mummer's dragon. I never thought of that. Holy crap.
Has anybody heard that theory before?
I've never heard that before.
Has anybody in chat heard that theory before? Or is that something that has just happened right now? I don't know. I've had a few beers, so things are just coming. So here's the thing then, because
what if Dany is the Mummer's dragon? Right? What if Dany is?
Well, okay, here's the thing. This kind of relates back to the House of the Undying vision in the show. Daenerys never touches the throne, then she goes beyond the wall, and then she sees Drogo and Rhaego. We're assuming Rhaego in the tent, and she doesn't give in to that temptation, and then obviously she hears the cries of her children and the dragons, and she goes back. It's always assumed that Daenerys' destiny has been to take the Iron Throne, right? Like the dragon that eats its own tail. We talked about that. Jormungand in Norse mythology. Birth, life, death, and then rebirth. What is Daenerys's death and rebirth? You know what I mean? Her death could be breaking the wheel, and her rebirth can be her vision being implemented by Jon. Because if you think about it, A Song of Ice and Fire, like all of these things happen, and then they happen in a different way later on in the story, right? Like they're kind of like these polar opposite things happen, and wouldn't it be funny if like Daenerys was the one who I'm not saying that she's going to defeat the Night King, but her destiny ends up being the one who breaks the wheel that way, and then Jon breaks the wheel in King's Landing. You know what I mean?
I mean, it can all happen.
I could totally see that going down, right? I mean that's kind of the way they're pushing it now, I think, at least in the show. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, would that make sense? Would that be in relation to the Mummer's dragon thing too? Maybe she's actually more important to the magical storyline than we think. I'm tiring George out.
No. My wheels are turning in my head. I'm trying to wrap my head around a couple things right now to see what possibilities might be. I blew my own mind.
You're still thinking about the Mummer's dragon thing?
Yeah.
The thing too, it will be difficult for Daenerys to get the kind of support. Yeah, I mean, she's a conqueror. Jon's kind of more of a known commodity, even though he's a bastard. People will see Daenerys as Aerys Targaryen's daughter. That's a stigma that's definitely going to stick. So it's going to be harder for Daenerys. And maybe she sees that, you know what I mean? In the end, she's like, well, Jon's better for this job anyways, and I kind of just want to kill shit with my dragons,
I don't think, we've seen Dany's not the best ruler.
Yeah, I could see a scenario where, if she died, are her and Jon going to come to an understanding too? Because it's pretty obvious that Jon's going to find out about his heritage, whether he is singular in finding that out, or maybe Brandon Sam will announce it in front of everyone. I'm assuming that that's going to be the case, where they're like, yo, I don't know if they're going to tell him in private or not. That's a thing too, right? Depending on that, because Jon and Daenerys, they're obviously going to value each other's relationships in this incredibly difficult period.
Yeah, but that's why one of them has to die.
Yeah. I think Daenerys has to die. That would be an interesting situation in the end. Then Jon has their child, and he's like in Ned Stark's position where he has to raise a motherless child. History has repeated itself in that way. The White Walkers are gone, but the history has still repeated itself.
That's what Tyrion is for.
So what do you mean by that?
Oh, he's going to be the royal babysitter. I mean, come on.
So you think that Jon and Dany die?
No, not necessarily. I mean, Tyrion just ends up having to kind of help.
Well, the hand of the king is, I think we're headed towards more of a meritocracy anyways. And I think the kingdoms will end up getting divided into 7 kingdoms again or something. And then there'll be like some sort of round table, where everybody, where they're like, Jon is king per se. He has the title of king, but it doesn't mean he makes the final say. He values everybody else's input, Tyrion, Samwell, Davos, him, whoever's left in the end, you know what I mean? That could kind of be something that.
Well, I mean, okay, out of that group, who do you think is going to live?
Okay, let's ask the chat that question as well. If there's going to be people at the end of the story, I think there's going to be like 7 main characters, like the 7 gods of the faith of the 7. I think it's going to be Jon for sure. People I think for sure survive. The 3 I for sure think survive are Sansa, Tyrion, and Samwell. Like those are completely safe for me. But then you add Jon to that list. Theon, I think Theon is going to survive. What's that? 5? Sansa, Tyrion, Samwell, Jon, Theon. I think Gendry probably survives. Arya. I don't know if Bran survives. He probably dies.
Arya survives?
Pardon me?
You think Arya survives?
I do think Arya survives, yeah. I think she's going to end up back in Bravos as an actress. I just did a video on that today, actually. I think she's going to leave Westeros. Whether it's going west of Westeros, as Lady Crane said, or as she said.
Do you think Bran's going to die, or is he going to have to do something?
I think Bran's dead physically, but mentally he'll be, or like spiritually, he will have transcended like life and you will have entered the weird net. And one of the last scenes could be Bran in a raven like overlooking Winterfell or something. It can be ambiguous, and then there'll be that eerie music in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything will be. It won't be a happy ending because a lot of people will be dead, but they'll be like kind of rebuilding or something. I don't know if it'll be like a flash forward or anything like that, but maybe like a month into the future or something like that. Who do you think survives then, George? I mean, Gilly is another one I think too.
Jon survives. Sam does not. Jon lives. Sam lives. Gilly lives. Tyrion lives. Arya lives because she has wife armor.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, why George is saying that? George R. R. Martin's wife Paris said she would divorce George if he killed Arya and Sansa.
Oh, so 2 pieces, 1 puzzle. No, Jon is a Fire Wight. He is. You can't get around that. Fire Wight is anyone who is brought back to life with the magic of R'hllor. So he's a Fire Wight. However, we also know that from the interactions between Melisandre and what's the priest Thoros of Myr and others, that they all say they have no control. They don't know why the powers work or not. So the Great Other, or not the Great Other, R'hllor rather, works through them to provide life or provide whatever else. It's just what it's called, Kyle. It's what it's called.
I hate the term Fire Wight, man.
I know you do, but that's what it's called. That's what it's called. And so in
whoa.
In all of these things, wow. Thank you, Crypts.
So by the way, everyone. Well, we'll let George finish, and then we'll shout him out.
The Great Other provides for whatever power or level of life is brought back, and I think in this case, Jon's blood is still flowing.
See, I don't. Yeah, George, he definitely died, right? Like, we can't deny that.
Yeah.
But, you know, like the ice and fire thing, man, like his blood is this, like, he's of the two royal magical bloodlines. You know what I mean? I think Jon is, I don't want to say the most special character, but he is. So I just can't get behind that, man. I just don't think he's a zombie.
No,
You know?
no, he's not a zombie. He's not. Fire Wights are not ice wights. They're very different. You know, ice is death, and as Melisandre often says, fire is life. So he's been re-imbued with the fire of life. So he's alive.
Okay, I'm cool with that, but there's people that describe it like exactly like an ice wight. And I'm like, get out of here. I can't get behind that, man.
It's not. Although I think there was one point where didn't Beric say that the blood doesn't flow in his veins anymore?
And he becomes more different each time.
Every time he's right. Every time he's brought back. So I think that's more what we're looking at.
Well, we're gonna get to Crypts in just a second. The interesting thing too is that Jon, when he like kill the boy, let the man be born, like Maester Aemon, super important, by the way, everyone, like one of the most important characters. His words are super meaningful. That like Jon has obviously changed. I mean, your perspective on life, if you die and you see nothing, you know, all of us don't want to die, but like if you see that and you come back, that might change you, or that would change everyone, I'm assuming.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know.
It's just a term. Fire Wight is just a term that ended up being the label for that, and it doesn't mean the same thing as what the ice wights are. Don't get too confused. But let's get on to
because the way I see it, like the ice wights, they're part of the hive mind of the Night King. They don't have any free will, right? And that's the difference, right?
Right.
Fire wights still have free will, which is. Let's get to this donation here, man. Crypts of Winterfell, huge donation. He says, sorry I missed most of this. He said, don't forget Gilly. Everyone, and I mean everyone that's here right now, 68 people watching, throw those heart and fire emojis in the chat. Crypts of Winterfell has been super helpful to me behind the scenes lately, and is just a super supportive guy. He's a patron of the channel. And we need to show him some love, man. He is dropping donos almost every time I live stream, which is just like super generous. Dropped a donation into GoFundMe for Con of Thrones too. So, Grips, excellent, man. You want us to answer a question before we start to wrap up the stream here? We got about another 10 minutes left. So yeah, everybody in chat, please show him some love, man. Jeez, a $50 donation. It's been a while since we saw one of those.
Wow. Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what, too? You know what I would like to do, since maybe you can. Do we have any more questions in the chat? You know, we should probably give a shout out to everybody who donated on the GoFundMe. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, go ahead. There's a question.
Let me 1 second, because there's some pretty big ones. I think we're at $400 in the GoFundMe now. So we have a donation from Crypts of Winterfell. We have one from William Rice, who's in the chat right now, who's also a patron of the channel. Thanks for that. We have one from Crow Food's daughter. She's actually got a really interesting. You might have heard the essay about the oily black stone. She got nominated for one of the best Reddit posts on A Song of Ice and Fire Reddit. She's really awesome. So thank you, Crow Food's daughter. You know, I'm going to retweet her thing on Twitter later. Look up for that so you guys can go check it out. Tiziana Vitali, she's also a patron of the channel. Crazy. Another donation. Karen donated 150, which is just bonkers. And she's been a patron like since the beginning. And Catherine dropped 100 as well. So we're getting there. We're 1/6 of the way through for the GoFundMe. And yeah, I know I take some time out to do the donations, but I can't ignore these awesome people, guys. Just thank you for that. Let's get to some more questions, George.
So, talking about the White a little more, Nicola just mentioned Benjen. And yeah, Benjen was raised, but we have to remember that the Children of the Forest did something different to him and stopped the magic from completing in his being raised from the dead. So, he's now going to be, that's why he was able to think on his own. he very likely had a piece of dragon glass or something stuck into his heart as well.
The Night King? I mean, Night King too, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so crazy, man, because all we really see Melisandre do to Jon is she washes him. You know what I mean?
And she prays over him, and doesn't she kiss him?
She says she says please. She asks please. Also, Azor Ahai prophecy can be deconstructed and interpreted in many different ways. Salt and smoke. You know what I mean? Davos. He's an onion. You peel the onion, you cut the onion, you cry some tears. But Davos was there too, man. I don't know. Some people say that Davos was because he was the last person there, and he's like, I didn't wish this upon you, and he was ready to lose his life to protect Jon's body, and he was dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really interesting, man. I hope I know we're gonna find out more about Fire Wights in the books, right?
So crypts, there's a lot of wood at Winterfell, and they're all the different generations of it being built. And I think that there's going to be a castle that's going to hit. So, or a dragon's going to hit the castle. So all that wood's going to go up. I remember there was the sequence where the library at Winterfell got burned. So there's a lot of stone. There's a lot of other stuff like that. But there's plenty there to burn, and they're going to have to do something to it, because we're going to have the A team of guys leave there and start moving towards the end game of the story. And
Winterfell has to.
Winterfell
has to go down. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. The bigger question is what's going to happen with the Kings of Winter who are buried there, and is Jon going to find something with Lyanna or something like that helps solidify who and what he is? Yeah, like the old keep, exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's said that the Crypts of Winterfell are super, super expansive, right? Even bigger than the castle.
Than the castle itself. Right? Yeah.
And I've hypothesized in videos. This isn't my theory, but other people have hypothesized that perhaps the Night Queen is down there, and she's because there's the hot springs of Winterfell are essentially fire magic. You know what I mean? Well, nature's way of locking her in a box, essentially. So she's locked down there, and that's why the Night King is coming to get his bride. I don't know if I believe in that, but it's certainly a cool thing to think about. And obviously in Jon's dream in the book, he goes down there and he's like, I don't belong down here, and goes super, super, super deep into the darkness, and then it's scary and kind of terrifying, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's we haven't talked about this one in a long time, but Preston Jacobs put up that whole idea that the Game of Thrones universe takes place after a big apocalypse, right? And that's the kind of crazy thing to think about is, the whole idea that the Crypts of Winterfell really are like an underground apocalypse base. They were built to withstand major explosions and stuff like that, or whatever it might be. And I there's a part of me that still leans really towards that, because it helps bind a lot of the other stuff together, and it makes a lot more sense that there are these older civilizations that aren't around anymore, and what happened to them.
Well, I mean, that's what makes the world of Ice and Fire so interesting too. I mean, we have kind of a parallel situation to the Wall in Essos, the Five Forts,
right,
which was thought to have been, thought to have been the defense system against the Long Night over there.
Right. We've had discussions about the whole, linking of all the black stone around the world. There's the Five Forts. There's the foundation of the High Tower. There's the giant toad, whatever statue. There's the sea stone chair. Then there are one or two other things. They're made from that oily black stone. That, are we ever going to find out what that really is?
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, George, Crowfood's daughter, who reached out to me on Twitter today, she's really cool. I'll tell you what, everybody in chat, we'll get George to come back. Everybody that's here, we'll get Crowfood's daughter on the channel, and we'll do a whole episode on like oily Blackstone and castles and all that stuff, and we can talk about that because we got a long way before Game of Thrones season 8 starts, and that's like a super interesting subject to me. Like, like the civilizations, like even in Essos, there's remnants of old Children of the Forest civilizations, like haunted swamps and mires and like and like a talking forest that's haunted and shit like that. So there's all sorts of cool stuff in the world of Ice and Fire, and especially about like castles and all that kind of stuff, which is like, and in human history too. Me and you, George, talk about this all the time. Like, were we ever visited, by extraterrestrials?
Right.
How did we get to learn all of these advanced mathematics to make the pyramids and stuff like that?
I've got my first narration for my video.
George is going to start a channel. Him and Gemma actually are going to start a channel, and they're going to like talk about like Nibiru concept and like alternate reality and mind control and all sorts of cool things, conspiracy theories basically. So I know that's a little bit different than Game of Thrones, but we will discuss more about the oily Blackstone and all that. I do want to go back to the donation because Crypts actually donated extra $20 for us to answer that. We would have answered. I just want everyone to know we answer questions without donations, by the way. Like, we love all of your questions, but thank you again, Crypts. Like, you're crazy, man. Like, just drop $70 US, man. Like that. You're excessive.
And if I see a question in the chat, sometimes I'm a little quiet because I'm trying to answer the question in the chat.
It is kind of more hard for me, right? Sometimes because I'm trying to like think of questions to ask George and trying to keep the conversation going, but you know what I mean. Crypts, you're the man, dude. We love you in chat, homie. You're just insane, man. Also, there was another donation. Fame RK, I see your $50 and raised you $2. He says. Fame RK, thank you. We appreciate that. You want to take one more question, George? We'll dive into one more, maybe a nice juicy subject, and then we'll kind of move on. We've been going for almost 2 hours. This is the longest stream I've done in a while. So, Fame RK, man. I see your 50 and raise you too. By the way, everyone, I'll tell you this. We're on February 16th right now. And how many more days are in February? 12?
Yeah.
We're at 89 patrons. If we get to 100 patrons by the end of February, I will go around at Con of Thrones as Tormund Giantsbane, telling people that drinking wine is they're basically twats, and I'll bring sour goat's milk around. So if we get to 100 patrons by the end of the month, I'll do something super funny. I'll grow this beard out even more epically, and we'll do something funny, Tormund Giantsbane style at Con of Thrones. All right, let's see if we can get another question in chat here. Here, 1 second. Fame, I'll show you what Patreon is. I'll screen cap it real quick. I'll be brief so we don't lose too much time here. Got to close on my porn. 1 sec. Just kidding. So Patreon, everyone, is basically, you see how it says 88 patrons here? Basically what it is you can subscribe for a dollar amount monthly. And what happens is you get like special rewards. So there's like a $1 tier. I have like, winter special hot bowl of brown. I have combo number 1, the Frey and steak kidney pie. We have Tyrion Insta-Light at $3. We have the Sir Fenturf burger. I know, funny. We have the Tormund chicken bane sandwich at $10. And each of these tiers, basically, I give like bonus content every day, early script access. If you go even higher, like to 40 or 50 bucks, I do sponsored videos, and like we work on a script together and Skype and stuff like that. So that's what Patreon is. Even for $1, I do all sorts of extra bonus content. And what it does, it basically, you get to help support your favorite content creators. Like comic book artists do this, right, George? Like podcasters, musicians.
Oh yeah, all the time.
it's like not just YouTube either. It's like it's a pretty big thing, right? Like cosplayers do it. I'm trying to think of more examples, but yeah, basically for someone like me who's a small content creator and I'm kind of trying to get new equipment, like, you know, new cameras and stuff like this, it's it's a great way for people who actually have a little extra money. It's a monthly thing, and it's not for a whole year, so you can cancel it at any time. Like you can do like $1 a month or $2 or $5 or whatever amount you so please, and it helps content creators like me or Gemma from Secrets of the Citadel or Smokescreen or you know a comic book artist, for example. And that's basically what it is. Patreon is basically just an extra subscription, and you get to do extra stuff. Sorry about that. I'm choking on my Guinness. Okay. Let's take one more question, George, before we go.
Go for it.
I'm trying to find a good one here. Sorry if that was a long explanation. Ooh. All right, George, we have a couple of questions here, but I like this one. We kind of talked about the last scene of the series, didn't we? Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. And this is kind of not the real question from Jar indeed, but Valyrian steel and dragonglass. This is going to be something that's pretty important, right? I mean, in the books, Euron has Valyrian steel armor, and in the show, we know that dragonglass actually affected the Whites, right? And it was hypothesized that Beric said, if you kill the Night King, you essentially kill the beacon to all of the other White Walkers in the Whites. So, can Valyrian steel kill the Night King? And what's going to happen with all of that? Is Gendry going to make Valyrian steel armor and new weaponry? What are we going to find out about that in season 8? Because I'm assuming there's more to the story about that, right?
Well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that from book to show, all of a sudden, dragonglass can kill any White. I mean, that still bugs me a little bit because, you know, we know that early on in the show that wasn't the case, and that in the books it certainly isn't the case. So the fact now that any dragonglass can kill any White is just a little, I don't know, doesn't ring quite true for me. But we'll have to kind of sit through it and see what happens. But can Valyrian steel kill the Night King? I don't know.
I have a feeling I think it's gonna break, man. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna.
I still think if Dawn is ever gonna show back up, I mean, I still think Dawn is
Lightbringer. It's made from a meteorite. Also, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
does Jon use it on Daenerys? Daenerys is the unburnt. I mean,
well, there's that whole, you know, like I said, don't overthink a lot of this shit, and it's that idea that you know, Dawn kills the Night. He's the Night King. Dawn will kill him. You know.
It makes sense. I mean, like you were talking about earlier about the description of things, George makes it like literally what it is. But now that could be one of the hidden things. I mean, you know, the Night King is the representation of darkness and death, and you know, Jon is Lightbringer, and Dawn is the representation of change and life. So that could be a thing, dude. So you think that Dawn's going to be a thing in season 8 then?
I think it's going to be in the books for sure. I don't know if they'll do it in the show.
The books for sure. I agree.
I think in the show they're not going to care. They'll just have a, you know, great dragon fight followed up by a great sword fight, but then it's really going to be something's going to have to happen with Bran, and that's really what's going to affect the Night King. Bran is going to turn out that he's the Night King, or that he wargs into the Night King, or that, you know, Drogon breathes on the Night King laughs it off. I mean, there's so much possibility.
Yeah, there really is a lot of possibility. I mean, we can really go in so many different directions, man. Like, I'm just really, really excited. Really, really excited to see what happens. Obviously, it's quite a ways away, but you know, it'll be nice to get answers at some point. You know what I mean? Because George hasn't been releasing the books, so I'm not gonna try to get too negative about it. But that's gonna do it for the stream tonight, everyone. Really, really fun time. Thank you, everyone, for the donations. Thank you to all the new patrons. It's been a real blast. If you do want to help support the channel, to the GoFundMe or become a patron, you can find all of that in the description of this video. Or if you want to reach out to me, or you want to say hi to George, put all that. I put all my social media in the description of this video. But if you want to get a hold of George, or you want to talk to George, I'll link up with him, and if you send me a message, we'll figure out how you guys can get chatting and whatnot.
In the chat, and I'll continue the chat there.
Yeah, especially also after this video, we didn't get to all of your questions. Ask some of them in the comment section, and
I'll get to them later.
We can, yeah, I'll be on for a little bit tonight. I'll get to some more of your questions in the chat tonight in the comment section, and we'll kind of get a little. We'll continue the discussion. The chat won't be open, but if you guys put in the comment section, I'll get to some more of your questions. Thanks a lot for joining me tonight, George. Like I said, it's really fun to have you back, man.
Oh yeah, always.
And you're going to try to get to Con of Thrones, right?
Absolutely. That's the plan.
And obviously, you guys know that me and George were last year's Con of Thrones crew, and hopefully we'll get that working again. And yeah, George is back, everyone. Well, not all the time, but he's going to try to be back more anyways. And this was really fun. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We had a blast answering your questions. And like I said, thank you again for everyone that supported the stream, the donations. And yeah, we really look forward to doing more content for you guys. But thanks again for watching us, and we'll see you in the next video. Hype and love.